Have you ever been stuck outside during heavy rain? Your shoes fill with water. Your socks become cold and squishy. Every step makes that uncomfortable squeaking sound. By the time you finally get home, your only goal is to take off your wet clothes, wrap yourself in a blanket, and promise yourself that next time you will check the weather forecast before leaving. Now imagine something much worse. Imagine there is no home waiting for you. There is no warm shower. There are no dry clothes in a closet. There is no weather app telling you that the rain will stop tomorrow afternoon. Because tomorrow, it is going to rain again. And the day after that, it is still going to rain. Weeks pass. The ground never dries. Your clothes never completely dry. The trees drip water all day long. Every piece of wood you touch feels damp. Every place you sit is cold. Every night you fall asleep, surrounded by the sound of rain hitting leaves, rocks, and mud. For many prehistoric humans, this was not an unlucky season. It was simply life. When we imagine our ancestors, we usually picture something completely different. Movies show endless sunny grasslands. Artists paint beautiful sunsets over peaceful valleys. Children's books show cavemen happily walking through forests while carrying spears on bright summer afternoons. It makes prehistoric life look difficult, but comfortable. Reality was far less forgiving. The Earth has never had one permanent climate. Over hundreds of thousands of years, the planet constantly changed. Some places became colder. Some became hotter. Some became dry deserts. Others turned into forests so wet that the air itself felt soaked. During certain periods, heavy rainfall lasted for months. Rivers expanded far beyond their normal banks. Forests became giant collections of dripping branches. Open ground transformed into thick mud that could swallow your feet with every step. Imagine trying to travel through that world. Every kilometer costs more energy than the last. Every hill becomes slippery. Every river becomes more dangerous. And every mistake becomes much more expensive. Because getting wet was not simply uncomfortable. Getting wet could slowly kill you. That sounds dramatic. But your body has one job. It tries to keep your internal temperature close to 37 degrees Celsius. It spends every second balancing heat. Lose too much heat, and your muscles stop working properly. Lose even more, and your brain begins to slow down. Eventually, your heart struggles to keep going. Rain quietly speeds up that entire process. Water pulls heat away from your body much faster than dry air ever could. Even if the weather is not freezing, staying soaked for hours can become dangerous. Today, most of us barely think about this. If we get caught in the rain, we simply change clothes. Problem solved. Our ancestors never had that luxury. If your animal skin became soaked, it stayed soaked. If your sleeping place became wet, there was no spare mattress. If your fire went out, you could spend hours trying to make another one. Every mistake followed you into the next day. And then the next. Survival was not about winning once. It was about avoiding small disasters over and over again. That is something modern humans rarely experience. Most of our biggest problems arrive suddenly. A car breaks down. A phone stops working. A bill arrives that you forgot to pay. Prehistoric problems were different. They slowly accumulated. One wet day became 3. 3 became 10. Food became harder to find. People became colder. Sleep became worse. The body became weaker. Nothing dramatic happened all at once. Everything simply became a little harder every single day. That is one of the cruelest things about endless rain. It does not attack you. It slowly wears you down. Nature rarely needed monsters. It simply needed patience. And yet, humans survived. Not only did they survive, they spread across continents. They crossed mountains. They entered forests. They explored regions where rain seemed determined to make life impossible. So how? Were prehistoric humans simply tougher than we are? Did they somehow become immune to cold? Not exactly. The truth is much more interesting. Our ancestors did not survive because they ignored the rain. They survived because they became obsessed with understanding it. They learned which valleys flooded first. They remembered which caves stayed dry after the heaviest storms. They noticed which trees kept more water off the ground beneath them. They watched rivers with the attention of scientists long before science existed. Rain was not background noise. Rain was information. Every cloud carried a warning. Every puddle told a story. Every season taught a lesson. If you failed to learn those lessons, nature taught them again, usually in a much harsher way. That is one of the biggest misconceptions about prehistoric people. We often imagine them as primitive, as if they simply wandered through forests, hoping for the best. In reality, they probably knew their environment better than most of us know our own neighborhoods. Think about it. Could you walk through the nearest forest and predict which path would flood after 3 days of rain? Could you identify which plants remain edible after a storm? Could you tell which slope is likely to collapse into mud? Most of us cannot. Your ancestors had to. Because every correct decision meant another sunrise. Every wrong decision could mean the last one. And nowhere was that knowledge more important than in choosing where to spend the night. Because once the sun disappeared, the rain became even more dangerous. The darkness hid flooded ground. The cold became sharper. The wind pushed water into every opening. Finding shelter was no longer just about comfort. It became the thin line between waking up tomorrow or becoming another forgotten story buried beneath the mud. And surprisingly, their favorite shelters were not always caves. Sometimes, the safest place to survive endless rain was somewhere you would probably walk right past without noticing.